What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some solo Annie Lennox. Indeed, I'm very excited. People seem to be fond of the idea we had at the end of the previous Eurythmics reaction, which essentially took us to the end of the original run of Dave and Annie's work as the Eurythmics. As I mentioned then, I think there's two or three alternative versions of songs that I've already reacted to that I didn't go through. At some point we can circle back for that, as well as the rest of the Tourist material, which I started going through now like 2.5 years ago, but I think I quickly moved ahead to the proper Eurythmics catalog. So yes, we've got some stuff we can come back for in the future, but for the time being we're going to move on to a tandem of solo Annie and live Eurythmics, because I have that compilation. I think it's Eurythmics Live 83 to 89, something like that. I think it came out in 93, so once again, shout out to Philip for sharing everything I just talked about. But yes, we're going to start with Annie's, I think, debut solo album, Diva, 1992. Now, when I got this prepared for the reaction tonight, I noticed the second song in the playlist is Walking on Broken Glass. I am familiar with that tune. I heard it back in the day. I don't remember exactly what context, maybe just on the radio, but I'm fond of that song. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with it. But beyond that, and the handful of tunes I've reacted to the last couple holiday seasons from Annie's Christmas Cornucopia album, and I'll continue going through some more songs from that in a couple months when we get to the holiday season. But yes, beyond that one regular song and a few Christmas or holiday songs from Annie, I don't think I've heard any of her solo material, so this should be fun. And the first track on Diva is Why. It's not only a single word title, but it's a question. Of course, one wonders what facilitated or precipitated the question, and obviously the narrator might have an answer to that question, meaning they might ask why and then proceed to theorize or assert what the answer to that why is. So yes, maybe it'll function in multiple ways, or maybe there'll be why asked about a number of scenarios or conditions, but either way, I'll see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Annie Lennox, the track is Why, and it's the opening tune on her 1992 solo album, Diva. of an opener. Yes, very soulful and almost spiritual sounding in the sonics. It felt like it was a very uplifting and transcendent type of song. But it's interesting because lyrically, I feel like it's full of more emotional turmoil and maybe not despair, but a lament that the other person doesn't know when to keep his big mouth shut. And indeed, she starts by saying, and indeed, I was thinking about the album title, Diva. She's saying, I can be harsh and difficult, and she's basically acknowledging her faults, and she's saying there's times where she's ready to apologize for them and to try to process that dynamic and maybe move to a better place. But seemingly when she does, this other person starts talking and saying, well, hey, like this, we got to go through this other stuff, and this is, just the beginning of what we need to talk about. And he doesn't let that moment happen the way the narrator sees it, and thus throws it all into turmoil or stunts or complicates the feeling of reconciliation that the narrator has. And I mean, there's some phrases or like visuals where I'm not sure how to take it. It was something like, we can go down to the river's edge, and what was it, like throw those darts, which, okay, you can throw darts at a target, and thus, figuratively you could be, criticizing another person, and you're sort of, trading darts in terms of, oh, it's your fault because of this. Well, no, it's your fault because of that. And it seemed to suggest maybe they could like get rid of them, but by the end she's literally saying, I don't think you know how I feel. So it's like she wants to bridge a gap, a divide, a breakdown, and to again have reconciliation and perhaps some sense of renewal, or at least a sense of closure and peace. But it's like, by her perspective anyway, and again, maybe there's a bit of that unreliable narrator where it'd be interesting to hear what the person on the other side is saying, but by her perspective, the other person is not allowing the hatchets to be buried, the seas to be rendered tranquil, and reconciliation to become tangible. So yes, it's like she's again blaming this other person for not letting things be as good as they can, even as she comes to the table ready to acknowledge her faults and on some level apologize for them. So yeah, it feels like the kind of song that could fit with a romantic relationship gone awry, or any relationship that used to be in a good place, but because of a clash of personalities or a difficulty in communication has now become disintegrated. Of course, and again, there's been a few songs, in particular on We Tour 1, which seemed to hint at the breakdown of the Eurythmics. I did have a thought along the way here, like, could this be a after comment, a posthumous or a postscript rather, comment to Dave about why the Eurythmics, or why their relationship was never able to be, or wasn't able to be recuperated or to restored. Now, again, that was just like a momentary thought I had, and perhaps this is a more general message, or perhaps it's more specific from Annie's life, even autobiographical, but not about Dave or the Eurythmics. So, yes, but that did cross my mind, so I do wonder. In any case, as I said, the Sonics had a very expressive and, in a way, uplifting sound to them, though that seemed to be a bit at odds or balanced out by the lyrics, which seemed more troubled. So I enjoyed that tension, and again, maybe I'm missing something here, and there was a more like-for-like element to the Sonics and the lyrics, though again, they seem to be like running slightly at cross purposes, which again, that can be a very compelling thing, and I think that works here. If I'm reading the song correctly, I like the way it's almost like she's processing things in her own way because she can't do it with him or whoever the other person is. Like, she can't have reconciliation with him because he just keeps opening his big stupid mouth, and so at least she's going to process everything and get closure for herself. So yeah, let me know if I'm missing something here. Let me know if there's a particular insight or background to the song, but I very much enjoyed it. looking forward to the next one. As I said, Walking on Broken Glass is a song I've known for multiple decades, though I've probably heard it in the last 25 or so years, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. So yes, I know it, but it's not exactly like I know it back to front, top to bottom, and in all its details. It'll be fun to reconnect with it. So let me know what you think. Shout out to Phil once again, and I will see you next time. Peace.